it has dropped so much. Just imagine one human being, 3 to 4 years, or even if being generous, you go like, okay, they learned everything in 1 year because they were a genius. So they learned how to code in 1 year, yet they had to collaborate with a designer, and it would still take them 24 hours to produce one of these pages, and still probably won't be this good. And we are sitting at the luxury of two of them in 5 minutes. That's the compression. That's how much we have jumped, and that's how the cost of writing code has plummeted. This basically means anyone who can prompt an AI with English can write code, and a lot of that code actually can be shipped, because turns out in this landing page, if are a marketing heavy company, this is all you need. You don't need any more functionality than this. In fact, this is what you were mostly arguing for and not taking priority for, because engineers had more important work to do. So because of this democratization, one piece that is happening is anyone can ship the code. Anyone can code, basically build software is what I mean by that. And as a result, at least in our organization, I'm seeing that everyone therefore is writing the code, or is doing vibe coding in some way or fashion, right? In our company, sales team has built software for themselves, for customers, or for just one-time use. Marketing team has built software. Ops team has built software. Design team has built apps. Teams that had no business, writing code are doing that. AI is also blurring the boundaries, where engineers are doing a lot of, interesting user research now. So it's allowing people to be more free and explore, especially in a startup, that sort of exploration is very easy. But this has, this is what is basically changing this old way of working, and the new way that has emerged. I want to show you the shape of that, because it's still not clear exactly how, it's not as clean as a waterfall. But I hope, as I walk you through all these use cases, you will relate to the fact that you can actually get a lot done with AI. I hope to share some very specific, as we get more serious and get into more and more serious code. I hope I can show you certain tips, tricks, or whatever thought processes is my more important thing, I think, to share about how to get maximum out of this entire agentic AI thing. We saw vibe coding. You have already done the other side. I'm sure you've seen Copilot earlier, which auto completes your code. And then you saw Cursor, etc. come out. And then, of course, eventually Claude Code came out. How many of you use Claude Code? How many of you have used Claude Code in a CLI? Voice is a bit low. Let me try increasing it. Oh, it's that low. Okay, my bad. No used. Never used. Okay. So this is, we were looking at Claude, and I'll take you step by step, though I want to jump to a CLI right away. And eventually I will. This is my sidebar. And right here, you will see I have Claude Code. Okay, I can click on code and it'll take me to Claude Code. This is the web version. This is not the original Claude Code. Try the Slack app. All right. So this is Claude Code in web. Looks very similar, but it has some different features. One important piece is that it's connected to my GitHub. So it's actually how you can open projects on like Claude. I'm opening code bases, and I will usually run Claude Code on some particular code base. For example, I could be running it on oh, I don't have this repository here. Never mind. I could load one of them, and this is the Git branch, which branch I'm on. Am I doing a cloud setup, which means this Claude agent will run on its own computer, will write code there and push it to my GitHub, or will I run it locally, which is not an option here. I'll show you where that option comes, but I can run local also, which is the ideal scenario. Or I can set up some third party stuff as well. I can record and I can like add files and I can change the permissions to plan mode, to auto mode, which is the new mode. And I can also change it to like, allow it to write whatever it wants to write. Here I can change my model, which model I'm interacting with, and I can send my, a request and watch it build. For example, this is a request I sent on one of my repositories, right? And it wrote the code and it was, ready for me, like to test. I could have tested in multiple ways. Of course, I can ask it to deploy and test it as well. But this is, you are using Claude for writing code. So there are some special things they put in the mix that allows you to, actually focus on writing code and bring in those patterns. For example, this is a diff. In case you're not aware, this is showing me what new, all these green lines that you're seeing, these are new lines of code written. And AI rarely deletes lines of code. I will try to see if there's no deletion of line because it's a fresh project. So it has written all these lines, and if I want, I can review it. I can, select it and start commenting, and Claude will be able to handle it. So this is specifically made for coding purposes. And of course, like I can change my project, I can change my branch, whole bunch of stuff can be done here. But this is not the powerhouse. This is not where Claude shines the brightest. The second option that you have of bringing Claude Code home is their Claude desktop app. What is that? This is their desktop app. I think it's available on Mac, Windows, and Linux, all three platforms. And here also you will see I have code right here at the top in sidebar, right here. If I click on it, this is Claude Code. And this is slightly more powerful. Why? Because it's running on my desktop, has a little more control. The website does not get that kind of control. So it can manage code on my laptop and run it right here, right? For example, it's already at Sonnet. Let me ask it to, can you run the server so I can see the app? This is an app called Not Easy, and it's a note-taking app that I built casually, like, I don't know, I just blotted something out in a voice note and it built it. So I'm asking it to run this server so we can see what this app looks like. Not in CLI, using free version. What is a CLI? CLI is a terminal app. And how many of you get scared if I open this terminal? Because I feel all of these other methods are so slow. This is a terminal. How many of you feel scared if I open this? Are you folks okay? Can you handle it? Will it be fine if I open a terminal? It's like a chat window, but with my computer. All right. There are some people who are clearly not okay with it. Give it a try. All right. So I will go to the same project as this one, right? I know where it is, so I can just go there directly. And when I look inside, these are my files. This is the code base of an app. And and by the way, this Claude launched our app. This is the app that this is a note-taking app. So today is and we are talking Claude Code. All right. And then I can add a new note. I just wanted to build something like Apple Notes. I've been testing it out in different languages. I'll also like just seeing how that works. So this is the app, and I asked it to run the server. So it ran it for me, right? And at the same time, it's asking me for certain permissions, and I can either deny it, accept it, or choose to ignore it as well. Right now, I don't even know why is it saying request. Oh, okay, I understand why it's saying request. This is why I don't like the app, because it's very limited and very annoying. Is literally the same thing is available to me in a CLI as well. Let me show you. These are the files that I have in my code base. You can see there is, bun.log. There is next environment. There is package.json. And this is exactly what I have here as well. It's literally the same thing, but you're swinging in a different place. I have, next config package.json. It's literally the same code base. And I can run Claude here. This is a CLI, a command line interface. And it, apart from looking cool, like you're a hacker, it's also much better, much more powerful. And I prefer to use Claude here. I think this is where Claude outshines and does its best work, right? And I can, by the way, continue this conversation, which I was having in the cloud. I can continue it here as well. Let me show you, like, in Claude Code, I can go to resume a conversation. And can you see the first one? 1 minute ago, can you run the server so I can see the app? This is literally my prompt. So this conversation now I can continue here in my code base on my computer, right? And give Claude all the access that it needs and keep an eye on it if it needs to. This is what was, it was doing. This is CLI, and there's no need to be afraid of it. It's usually a friend. But if it overwhelms you, some of you just remember, it is basically like chat, right? It's not very different from chat at all. They have put this everywhere. Now, what can I do with Claude? This app was built by Claude, and this app was built in literally one prompt. And in fact, I have that one prompt right here. Yeah, this is the whole prompt. All right. Like, in fact, you can just ask it for note-taking app in Electron and bunch of keywords, and it will do that for you. So earlier it created a landing page for us. And now I'm showing you that I'm creating a, landing page is all right. It's not a big challenge. But now what we're looking at is that it also can create desktop applications. This will require installation, right? Like the old apps. So landing page, which is, or you can think of it as a web page, website, can definitely do that. And it also built me a macOS app. I don't have the correct icon, but this is an app here, right? And I can it's basically Chromium. It's basically running Chrome behind the scenes, but I can use it and do whatever I like with it that I would do in any other regular, usual Mac app. Most of you won't be able to even tell that this is actually front-end code running on in a shell, a Chromium sort of shell. In case you're interested in this particular technology, we'll not talk too much about it. But in case you're interested to dig deeper on how this is done, you can search for Electron. There is Tori as well, but in case you are sensitive about UI, like you want the UI to look good, then I would suggest stick to Electron. If you build crazy, kind of stuff. There are some very popular apps which are Electron apps, which people don't know because they get that good on performance, etc. when you really try. Slack app, if you run it on your desktop, it's basically a website wrapped in Chromium, which is an Electron app. Notion is an Electron app. I believe a whole bunch of most application people, when they build applications, it is an Electron app essentially. What are the limits to using Claude? Token limit? Can we disable this? You cannot disable it. If you have infinite money that you can pay to Anthropic, then you can disable it. So this is also just a starting point. The level of complexity that Claude and other tools can handle together. And do you folks think that Claude is better at design, or who is better at UI UX design? According to you folks, according to your experience, which model is best at UI UX design? I would have taken your this rating as a signal, but we had a tie here. Monish, I got in one case. I know you love Claude, but that's all right. Replying once is fine. Claude, okay. Claude, okay. Thankfully, most people agree, but I don't have too many messages to go on. Do let us know your opinion. In general, yes, Claude Opus is the king of UI UX, that sort of work. And there are other models that come close, but I think close is also being too nice to them. They are actually very, very far, right? Gemini can pretend, almost make it work, and then you ask for two changes and it breaks the app, right? So it's not as good at as Opus. So if Opus is good at design, can you imagine certain models are good at certain kind of software and logic, that this one writes this kind of logic better, that one writes that kind of logic better? Can you imagine? That could be the case, right? Or if you have any preferred model for front end, back end, please put it in the chat. I would love to know. All right. So the other one, is already mentioned in the chat that I want to introduce you to. Would you folks want to look at options beyond Claude Code? Though I will show you, stuff we can build in Claude Code. Do you folks want to see other options as well? But how different models for different things? Yes. PPTs are made better on Claude, correct. Very visual work is better on Claude. Codex, cursor and codex. So yeah. So there are tons of options, right? Now there are tons of options. I want you to understand it in one way to understand this entire market is there are these coding experiences or apps that are by the AI labs, the company that is training the model. They are the ones building, these apps to begin with. And one of their examples is Codex. Another example is Claude Code. These are built by the labs themselves. They train the model and they build the coding piece. Then there are, companies which are not AI labs, but they only focus on the agentic AI coding. Can anybody tell me names of those? Any such? How is Perplexity? What it does better? I don't think it does anything better anymore. It's quite outdated if you ask me. There are other kind of companies who don't own the model. Can you name any? Any come to your mind? None, folks? All right. Perplexity. So Cursor is one of them. I mean, they did fine tune a model like Composer, etc., but no way, they are not an AI lab. They are basically focused on the Cursor bit of it, right? There is OpenCode if you haven't heard about it. There is one that I still think is underrated, is Factory AI or Droid. And these are, let's call them developer, experience. So I don't know if there's DX is a thing, but we'll write it DX. Apple is nowhere on the scene. Apple is nowhere on the AI scene. Apple has given up. Apple can't they just don't have it in them to ship AI. Like, we are talking about AI sabotaging governments, and that is where the drama it has, and my Siri can't even set an alarm correctly. So I have zero hopes from Apple when it comes to AI. Right? I have burnt enough of my. So now these are the two kind of experiences that we'll see, and both are worth exploring. Usually what happens is they tend to have better solutions because they have a larger experience, and they tend to have cheaper rates and some truly outstanding and innovative stuff going on. Like when Claude Code came out, it was one of a kind, and now it's not even that special, though there is tons and tons of options. For example, if I wanted to publish this app, I could run a skill, run an MCP, like MCP. Claude people were the first to build MCP, and so I can do a whole bunch of things within Claude Code as well. One example is how many of you know this name, Linus Torvalds? Linus Torvalds or Linus Torvalds? Anyone knows his name? This guy is the person, he's the person who made Linux, or GNU Linux particularly. Okay. And Linux is what runs our servers. It runs everywhere. Instagram server runs on it. Zoom server runs on it. The world runs on Linux. All right. Even Android runs on Linux fundamentally, if you look at it that way. So he is very popular in programming world, and he's very famous for writing it's an open source thing. So people are contributing code and they are reviewing code. Like I was showing you, you look at the new code written. So when human beings used to do it, they would talk over email, like this is good code, this is bad code, this shouldn't be written this way, you should write it that way. He was known for scathing code reviews. I mean, there have been career-ending code reviews where he has literally only written 2 lines. You should be ashamed at the code which you're writing, and you should stop writing the code. So he's brutal, like when it comes to certain boundaries and certain things he wants you to respect while writing code in his organization. And somebody built a nice skill and plugin out of it in Claude Code, and it's called Linus Taste. It's called Taste Check. Review code using Linus Torvalds' good taste philosophy, and you can read up about it. But what I can do is just with one click, I can just run this entire prompt. There's a full prompt behind it, and Claude will take on that personality, and it will throw a lot of Japanese in there because most likely some Japanese person wrote this prompt. Oh, I can't even it's asking me a question. I had a very racist thing like should I respond like that? I don't know if it's Japanese joke or right, which one, but specific file, give me the path or present entire code base. Let's get it to review our entire code base. Meanwhile, I want to show you Codex app. This is very different from experience from, though you can use Codex in CLI. This Codex app, I'll let you take a look at it. It will look less daunting than CLI. It's a very different take on the entire thing. All right. It looks like ChatGPT. Yes. Does it look like ChatGPT or does it look like coding tool? Which one does it look like? Folks, anyone? ChatGPT. Okay. Any other app it reminds you of? All right. So I can add projects here and they become these folders. I have that project right here and I can start a new chat. My model is 5.5 high. I have other models option as well. And I have very similar options here, plugins, skills. I'll show you all of those. But here's the interesting bit, the first part of getting maximum out of these AI model, because they are very powerful and there are a lot of us getting a ton of result from them. Like I've not written this much software in my life as much as I've written in the past couple of months. And there are very interesting breakthroughs which I think are important to share, where I feel most of my software engineering friends were trapped because I spent quite a bit of time with software engineers and try to understand. And I think I read their prompts more than they do because they will be like, oh, this is not working. I'll sit and read their prompt with them to understand what's going on. So there are a couple of patterns I've observed, which I thought I'll share with you, which makes this entire thing you might have thought, oh, it's all fad and it's all marketing gimmick, but there's real stuff to it. And that's why I'm demoing you more and more complex use cases as we're going in. I have super complex use cases, but I can't show you those because proprietary code, etc. But in that process, I have learned a whole bunch of things. And one of the important things that I've learned is that if I'm not gonna, I have to put care somewhere. If I stop caring about code because I stop looking at code, then code can drift. I think the code works this way, and code actually works very differently because AI understood me differently. And this points at a fundamental problem, right? Like most of us will face. But you can actually get the model to tell you what it is about to do. And before it sits down and takes hours and burns through your credits, you can ask it to summarize what actions it would take. And then you can criticize that and get it in line. And this entire process was famously captured as plan mode. How many of you use plan mode for writing code? Have you used plan mode for writing code? Do you see any benefit or no difference? I would love to know. Not used? Okay. Plan mode is fantastic. Okay. I spend a ton of my time in plan mode. It can also help you save some money. Actually, it does save you in like whenever you use plan mode, it does save you a ton of money, because instead of spending all the tokens and running out of a subscription limit to write code which anyway did not work and you would not have been happy with, I would rather I've spent full chats and multiple chats sometimes till I was happy with the plan that it gave me. And at times I want only specific parts to be clarified, and at times I want exactly which line it will write in which file, like to that detail. And that is where one leverage comes in, because this is my point of leverage. Because if I got it to set its goal correctly, if I got it to agree on a very theoretic, like deep enough plan, that I can be assured to at least some degree that it will match what I'm trying to ask, I can get better outcomes. In fact, you extrapolate that and some old techniques in programming become very, very relevant. How many of you have heard of this term TDD? And have you suffered it? I mean, they're only survivors of TDD, at least in humans. They're only victims. Do you know what TDD is? Those of you are software engineers, I am expecting you to spill the beans. Come on, folks. I would love to see some response in the chat. What TDD is. Thank you so much, Ashraf. Yes, it is absolutely test-driven development. Earlier, only crazy people did it. In case you did it, we are the crazy ones. You are fine, because I'm guessing it's the right thing to do. But it was never practical, and ain't nobody got time and took the joy out of things when I tried it. Great idea on paper, feels like a punishment on ground. But now this has it has actually becoming my go-to way of getting code written out of AI. In fact, more and more I'm realizing that code is getting split into three parts. There is the code, all right, and everybody does messy things here. Then there always has been, and none of your seniors will agree to it, those of you are senior in the chat below, but it is absolutely true. There is always the sacred code. Like you pray 20 times before you touch this code, right? That has always been the case. And there are other bubbles that are emerging. One of the first ones to emerge is now there are very clearly tests. And these tests have to be meaningful, because if you really want 100% coverage kind of, BS, of course, you can get it with an AI model today. But is that what you really want? So you want to be smart about that as well. And the third thing that is becoming very, very clear is documentation or docs. All right. So code, the sacred code, and tests and docs. And I'm realizing more and more that I thought, oh, AI, how many of you think AI will be good at this side? All right, which is, side A. And how many of you feel AI will be good at this side or side B? In your experience, is it side A kind of thing or side B kind of thing? Nikhil says side A. Oh, they are good at both. Very interesting, Manish. All sides equal, Imran. That's hard to believe. All right. Side B, okay. Whichever one you have experience, you are mentioning that. In fact, what I found out is that if you're a front-end engineer, your front-end output from AI model is going to be the best because you have leverage. And you're also going to be the most frustrated with AI models about front-end because you have to deal with the messy, middle. So turns out the more of an expert you are, the more your work contradicts what you think, and the more upset you are with the models. All right. So it's completely valid to have completely different point of views here. What I started realizing, folks, is that when I gave it all three things, it was a disaster because who is it even maintaining docs for? I realized because it can always read the code. And the test it will come up by default are so utterly useless at times. They are like they should be studied for being hilariously bad. Because it doesn't have a great idea because it has not used as many apps as you have in life that where typical failing points happen for these kind of setups. And the absolute worst disaster was handing over documentation to AI. I'll talk about that much more later. And it turns out that I wasn't also happy with the quality of code, but it turns out that the more I invested here, thinking about it, coming up with test cases, pre-calculating them, and the more clarity I spent, I write to think. That's one of the things I think I like to do. So when I'm thinking about an app, when I'm thinking about software, I often write notes and keep writing the same note over and over again to get better clarity for myself, right? And that final clarity I put in documentation for AI. And the more I invest here, I realize that I'm actually able to affect the quality of all three. And this becomes the guidance for AI. And this is nowadays has a fancy name. It's called steering the AI, right? Because AI has the capabilities. It knows how to write the code. It knows how to read the code. It's about your ability to steer the model, right? And this is what I have realized that I am starting to own these two parts, leaving the exact code implementation to the AI. And this is the part that I'm spending more of my time on. And I'll show you why that makes more economical sense and why that I think will be leveraged soon on focusing on this and treating code as the throwaway, right? So this is the trick that works for me. And there are some agents writing tests into my repo, but more and more I'm telling them, I've stopped asking them, like now I actually ask them, do not write any code comments because I've seen the kind of comments they leave. Not only are they terrible, useless comments. Uh, I used to use comments with for very high information density that I would often write code comments where I knew 2 years later, I'm going to be trying to maintain this code base. I'll forget about this. So I want to write a comment that will remind me exactly what's going on here. So that is the level of thought. I would put more thought in my comments than in my code. And AI doesn't care. Like it has wrong, things written in the comments, and it just was adding to the mess. So first thing I banned was outright none of my models are allowed to do this. They're not allowed to leave any code comments. Okay, either the code says what it does or it doesn't, right? Because there are not that many human beings venturing into the code base. We are more and more isolating the code base, which is sacred, which should remain under human purview. For example, payments, healthcare, all the regulated industries. It's becoming more and more isolated, and the rest of the software is spreading, right? Once again, owing to the fact that anyone can write code, so everyone is writing code. Like I told you, folks, our marketing team, our sales team, etc. All of them are producing code, etc. And it starts with the second ground breakthrough idea that I think we had, responsible for this new wave of builders and this new way of building is finally unlocking prototyping. All of this has unlocked prototyping like no one else. How many of you know the word prototype or prototyping? Basically, this has led to this. Okay, you don't like, that's fine. I will show you one. I build this on Claude. The one, hopefully. It's not the one. There you go. This is an old one, I think. come on. This is also not the one. I can actually ask it to build in that much time and how much time I'll find it. Build me a chat GPT clone with chat history and all. Use OpenAI GPT-5 mini. All right, simple prompt. I'm just asking it to build a chat GPT clone. It can't build the full app. So what it's going to build is going to be basically like a toy app. It will look like that. It'll feel like that. It doesn't have the full power. It's just a mock software, right? Figma prototypes did not have the same control, same level of depth, same level of experience as doing prototyping in code. Everyone has a talk. Every famous person has, given speeches on how we should be doing more prototypes. But it was never possible because I needed engineers to write code to build prototypes, and all of them were doing the high stakes job, right? So finally, this has become possible. In fact, prototypes have become the language a lot of our teams are talking to each other. Sales is no longer going to a meeting and saying, oh, what if we do this? They show us that, hey, I built this with Claude, I built this with Claude, we could solve the customer problem like this. And that is what I mean by them shipping software, a lot of it. So suddenly, earlier, what used to happen on a Slack thread where ideas would get exchanged. And now what is happening is prototypes are getting exchanged. And they're coming from different teams, right? Maybe this one came from design. Maybe this one came from marketing. This one came from sales. This one came from finance. And then you can mix and match and I can say, oh, I like this from here. I like that from here. And therefore I have another prototype. And there is so much ideation and there's so much depth to the ideation because of this process that this alone has excited me about, the future that is there to come. And this is what a prototype is. For example, if I was building a chat GPT app, this will look and feel like chat GPT, not design wise. I'm not talking about that, but functionality wise. For example, I should be able to send a message here. Oh, why does it use Foro Mini? I hate that model. But anyway, write 10 paragraphs about agentic AI coding. I can't even send the message or what. All right. Oh, I have to put my API key. Of course. How can I forget that? Let me put my API key. You are creating this on Claude, right? Yes, I'm doing this on Claude. And if you build this on Claude Code, it will build it more powerful. It will take more time, but it will build it more solid, right? Because that harness is just so much better. 1 second, folks, I have to get API key so I can show you how this thing works. I hope it doesn't the password field. 1 second, let me check. What happens if I paste thing here? Thank God. So I've pasted my API key and I will send this message. Failed to fetch. Okay. Failed to fetch. Actually, let me just, why am I wasting time? Let's just give it to Opus. Is so much better at it. Like, you will see the difference. Literally same prompt and this is an important, very important piece of hard lesson that I learned, which we'll come to in a second. I was telling you about prototypes. And now when we go to, by the way, in engineering team, more often than not, we have finished half the software already. I mean, building it. We have much better clarity of what we want because we have been testing the ideas and ground, understanding with customers. So there's a ton of prototyping and some of it starts to make it to customers. So it is tested. Some of are done as experimental launch. So most of these will finally become part of the experiment pipeline, which everybody wanted, but it was a luxury or just a dream. And now it's actually happening because things are moving so fast and at such a pace because of this prototype and what we learn from them, that everything has to just run as an experiment, right? Essentially. And then we collect data on it and then we take, decisions on it. So it's a feedback mechanism as well. And around this somewhere around this part, right? Because there's so much of this prototype, etc., going around. So obviously, engineers are curious people, they get involved. And when they get involved, it's usually very early in the process. Remember, when we're looking at waterfall, till designers was done, you wouldn't even bother the engineer, because why waste their time when your designs are not finalized, right? This is not the case anymore. Like, no one single person is a designer. So as engineers participate, they are nudging people and sharing solutions with people where they're stuck, at the same time learning about what the customer focus is. And in a very interesting way, the only part where we have started to become bottleneck, one would think that because AI is writing so much code now, software engineers are free, that's why they are not busy. They're more busy than ever before. Because of all of this, if earlier they had to review and look at and guarantee 100 lines of code, now, that is, let's say a team of 10 did 100 lines of code per day. Now there are 100 such teams doing it. So this has become like, like order of magnitude more, and it has choked the bandwidth. At least I don't know about your org, but there are so many pull requests, and we are basically at this point triaging and asking ourselves the difficult question: which PR deserves the human attention? Because there's definitely no way in the world they can review all those PRs. And in general, I don't think code review was enjoyed by anyone, and it seems now as if that's the only thing that is left to do, which is tons and tons of code review, right? And the second, interesting piece that emerges out of here, come on, is QA. Because so much software wants to get shipped to customer, in hands of customer, QA is swamped, right? So suddenly, because their profession is doable by other people, these people have become more variable. Go figure economics. It's always like, crazy like this, but this is what is happening in reality. We need, like, on very critical parts, we need them to approve the code base, look at the code base, and review the code base. Otherwise, I'm just taking, I'm taking the answer, no engineer required. For example, if Claude already built the landing page for me, and landing page doesn't have any logic, it doesn't have any, sort of requirement, I can just allow my marketing team to publish whichever landing page it is that they want. And same thing can be said for more and more complex software. Unless you're in a regulated field like law, medicine, those are regulated industries and there things matter, finance, etc. Everywhere else, it does not matter what background you have. You can, if you're willing to sit down and like leverage AI, you can get even like the craziest unimaginable thing done. People have made full movies at this point using only AI. So it is really remarkable, what it's doing. But what's doing in code is incomparable to anything else because of the sheer power and impact that it can have. It's not allowing me to zoom out. 1 second. Yeah. So this is the new shape, and you can put them here like a cycle. But I think this QA and this thing is also happening in parallel. So for the first time, couple of dream come true scenarios, designers can ship code without trying to make front-end engineers understand that 2 pixel really matters. PMs and business people can just launch their MVP without requiring engineering, and come to engineering only to bother them when they have proof that business will work, right? So getting to PMF has become more optimized. And this looks nothing like, and because by the time it goes to code review and gets to production, we are already working, in the backseat on the new version. And it looks nothing like the waterfall. It has no resemblance to waterfall whatsoever, right? In fact, more and more we are thinking like, how can we lessen their burden and, leverage even more AI to maybe at least the non-sensitive code we can ship the customers directly. So the consequences of this are like dire, because I think any one of us who held on to this idea that, oh, there is a profession which requires certain skills, you can get a degree in that skill and then they give you the job and you make the money. Those days were never, like, startups never had those days. You had to prove your worth every day, every single turn, because that's what startups demand. But more and more, world is also becoming very unforgiving of that, and starting to do outsized rewards for people who take the charge, have agency, and are leveraging AI to do stuff. People are building businesses. People are changing and evolving and pivoting businesses. They are pivoting their careers because they unlocked something super interesting. And I think the power to code is definitely one that will have economic and other consequences like for years to come, right? Because okay, did it crash? Yeah, VS Code just crashed on me. That's why I was wondering, why is it not loading? It just decided to go crash on me. I hope it has not erased. Just beautiful. VS Code has done it for us. It has erased everything I had here. Thanks, VS Code. Anyway, I was showing you folks that there was a waterfall and now it is not there. I'm lazy to write it, so I'll say, waterfall bad. Any questions so far, folks? Because then I want to show you a couple of things in action and close the pipeline and show you what level of desktop app you can build. I will show you one web app that is on production, so we can talk about deployments and all those pieces. And this is this new world. I don't know what to call it. I don't want to call it agile world. This new world where everybody is moving in parallel, I feel is good. And my favorite parts I was telling you about this are, first, that everyone starts together. There's no more like, oh, designer is not done, so don't even let engineer look at the problem statement because we are trying to maximize our ROI or something. Second beautiful piece is that it allows a lot more people to get involved in solution making, right? Allows for more participation. And not only from the staff or people in the company, even customers are imagining a different thing because they can also wipe code, right? They are also imagining a whole different way of thinking and going about things. By the way, I have my review ready. This is what a human being would do. And of course, I have to sit through and read what kind of critiques are these. But in my experience, at times it has surfaced something which I was completely blindsided by. I might have run it as just a joke because it's very funny that somebody put Linus's language etc. in there. But it turned out to be very, very effective plugin, and it has helped me fix multiple issues before I went to production. So it is doing quite remarkable, job at code reviewing, which I did not expect. Though my first surprise about how good AI can get with, code review specifically, I did not even believe it till I actually took the free trial of these people called CodeRabbit. There's Greptile, which is almost equally famous. And most people, I've not used Greptile, I've used CodeRabbit a lot. Like you subscribe to GitHub Copilot or ChatGPT, you subscribe to them, and whichever PR you raise, it will do an in-depth analysis. And what fascinated me about the code reviews that CodeRabbit did, I actually was starting to look, I would look forward to what it has to say and review my PRs because it was teaching me so much. And it would point me towards patterns. Is this it will ask clarifying questions, in the, if you configure it to do that, or it can silently do its job and you can let AIs handle it. But I had a lot of fun because I learned a lot, and I learned things that I was not even sensitive to, but AI was. So it became a very collaborative and interesting thing because I never believed somebody could build an AI that can do code reviews like humans do. The most interesting part about that is the reason you keep human to human code review is so teaching can happen and cross learning can happen. And turns out AI can break that barrier as well. So it has actually made me a better designer, better software engineer, because I just, was completely clueless and I asked it to, ask me questions, quiz me, which will highlight my blind spots. And that is, one way to leverage AI as another point of view. This is just, goes on to show that their LLMs are really, really good at role play. So if you tell them to play a role, they will try to simulate it very faithfully, right? And including you can simulate customers and their response and why they respond this way and what might be going through their mind. Turns out it's not very difficult for LLMs to just take on somebody's personality and tell you what's going on in their mind. Give it a try with your customer base, etc. But you'll be surprised. It's actually scary how good they are at this. But this is a new world, folks, and which we are in, and the old waterfall is completely gone. And I'm so thankful for it, because this new world feels so much more liberating, and I feel more in charge and power. And it gives you freedom of choice of wherever you want to be. Maybe this software that you're building is not even proven yet. So why spend so much time let AI write code? If it works out, then I will invest. There is extreme traditional side of doing stuff. In general, they say avoid extremes, and everyone of you will find yourself somewhere in the mix here. And it is also possible for one project you are literally vibe coding it and shipping it like that. It's possible. While the other one is your sacred cow, which is not to be touched, because jail will happen or something. You realize that you don't have to be one person. You can decide where my project sits in this entire priority order. And a new unproven project, I will spend less time and take more risk with vibe coding, versus a successful product. I want to deliver a very high quality customer experience, so I can put my focus very, very differently. And by the way, it's always been about focus and making choices. It was never necessarily, engineers they didn't have less time in terms of hours to write more code, and you shouldn't be measuring productivity in terms of lines of code. But this goes on to show, like, even after AI has accelerated so much, a few people still are able to leverage it better, and especially those who come from coding background. That lead is exceptional, right? So one thing I want to show you is, let's talk about DevOps and taking an app live. Right now, this app is buggy, but I can show you at least the previous outcomes. This app, the core pieces of this app were built on mobile app, where I was prompting AI to code and build this literally on the mobile app. If it decides to load, then I can show you. It was built on Lovable, but now I think I have taken it to Claude Code. Did it load? Okay, it loaded. Right now we sign up, there's a bug going on. I'm trying to fix that. But what this does, you can give it any topic, and basically any topic. For example, what is the new models that were released? And you can give it additional instructions. You can select from 80 languages, and you can combine multiple languages as well. So I want my host to speak English, Tamil, and Hindi. It will be one hell of a podcast. And when I hit generate, multiple AI agents start orchestrating when working in parallel. First, they will go find out the news and understand your topic, and then they will verify that news, and then they will, there'll be another agent who's good at screenplay, story writing, etc. So it will turn it into a nice script. In fact, there are two models involved to turn into a decent script. And finally, I use the last model as a podcaster producer who will actually generate two podcasters talking. So in 5 minutes, you get news custom delivered to you in the flavor that you like and grounded. This is Fable by Anthropic was banned. This is a podcast on that topic.
Coders. I'm Velma. And okay, I need to say this clearly before we even start. Fable 5 was not banned.
I'm Sam. And wait, it wasn't banned? Velma, मेरे फोन पे तो यही आया था कि Fable 5 banned, पूरी दुनिया में switch off हो गया. वो क्या था?
That's exactly the word people used, and it's doing a.
So that podcast was generated in 5 minutes of me. Like, I heard the news is banned, so I asked it, and it came back with this. Do you know any podcast crew of human beings who you can tell a topic, and in 5 minutes they'll be ready with a fresh podcast? This app wasn't even possible before generative AI. And I built it using AI, and it utilizes a lot of AI to do this. It's like having your own production team, and you can tell them, yeah, today, for dinner, give me this podcast. For breakfast, give me that podcast. In fact, can continuously generate podcasts if you want. and it's damn fun to take complex topics and demystify them. For example, it can keep up with AI news for you, which is very hard to keep up.
Siri getting a Google Gemini brain transplant? Honestly, I thought we'd see flying cars before I saw that headline.
So yeah, you can get it to be more expressive, more newsready, whichever one direction you want to take. Those are all options available, and this is deployed on production. Once again, I have done something like I've done a boo-boo, so it's slightly unstable. So if you sign up, you might not be granted credits. If you check back, like later on, you will find this apps like working and live. Most of our website landing page is vibe coded. Fundamentally speaking, of course, they're engineers looking at the code quality, etc. overall, but they don't need such high security thing. It's just basic HTML, and people are focusing on more and more ambitious software. This I did not even have to think about taking it live. Right now, I have 30 options, and in fact, what I can do is I have code right here. I can do this with Claude Code as well. If I want to deploy this, right, and the repo for the podcaster one that I was showing you is this Freshcast Lovable. I can go here and I can say, here's a plugin or a skill from Vercel. Vercel is one option. I will just add them. I'll just call it Vercel API. Okay. There's Cloudflare. I cannot directly connect Cloudflare, but I can connect it right here. Let's check. Never mind. Like I can ask it directly to connect, and I can give it the links for so I can Cloudflare. Any other hosts that you are aware of? Any other host? There is Cloudflare, and there is AWS. There is Azure. There is there's Anthropic. Oh, this Cloudflare status page, I believe. Where did that go? Never mind. Yeah. I can paste it right here. And I can ask it only plan. So I'll switch on the plan mode. So it will not change any code. It will first convince me of the plan. And I'll be like, I don't know where I can host it for cheap. Find me the best. Find me the best top 3 options. So what I attached here is a skill, and you can see skills are marked. You can see it's marked down, and it often will link to the next page. So if I click this, I'll go to the page inside and inside. Long story short, I can take let's say OpenAI, and I can copy and paste the entire end of their documentation into AI and hope that it will behave properly. It will not, because you just overloaded it with unnecessary information that it did not ask for or did not need. So they have solutions, around that. I don't know why this is getting stuck. Why is this getting stuck? Extremely strange. Is there a memory leak somewhere? Oh, my Google Chrome is gone. Don't even know what to do about that. One second, folks. I'll just restart Chrome. Hope we should survive through that. Okay. I don't even know what I was showing you, folks. Like completely filled up my RAM, and we'll come back. So we saw landing page, and then we saw a basic note-taking app, Mac app, right? I'll just write LP. Then we saw Mac app directly. Last but not the least, we just saw how you could have generative AI application and you could also deploy them. In fact, most of Vercel, etc., I understood because agents were willing to have patience to explain it to me. Otherwise, their documentation, I was like, I don't have the attention span to read it. And finally, when it comes to what I want to specifically highlight to you, when it comes to very high performance requirement, etc., you can get software written there as well, given you know how to steer it. So high performance. Lately, I do a lot of machine learning experiments, and majority of that code is actually written by Codex, and it's always reviewed by Claude. They hate each other, so they are perfect for this job. I wouldn't change this. For example, it's very risky to ask Claude to write the code and Codex review it. Claude is much better at reviewing in case of machine learning code, and execution, Codex is more faithful. Your own evaluation may be different than what I'm talking about. And finally, I want to show you what is the complexity and depth of software that you can build. Of course, we with the GenAI case, we also understood DevOps, etc., because it will manage it for you. And finally, that I want to show you is like complexity. How many of you use any note-taking AI app, and which one do you use? Can you put the name in the chat? Siddharth, do we get recording of this webinar? No, I don't think so. You can, but I think Om can clarify. Obsidian, okay. Notebook LM for meeting notes. How do you take meeting notes in Notebook LM? Sorry, I am not aware if they have a feature. I used to use Granola a lot till I started finding things that I did not like in Granola. How many of you know Granola or Fireflies? Have you heard of these? Otter AI. Anyone has heard that? There is Granola. There is Fireflies. They are famous brands. They are the market leaders in this category anyway. And watch what I can get done without even looking at the code. This is again a desktop app, and it keeps a track of my calendar, etc. I have also kept what do you call it, the audio itself as well. Granola doesn't give you audio, but I wanted audio, so I've kept the audio, of the entire meeting. I get the transcripts, and I feel I'm getting much better quality notes, from my setup, etc. This app was completely built using vibe coding, what you will call vibe coding. Of course, I did not spend a lot of time reading the code, but I do often venture into the code base to look at the mess AI has created, and usually record my voice to, oh shit, I answered one of the quiz question that I want to ask you folks, but I usually record my voice to, let it know that I'm displeased and the fact that it should fix it, right? This entire app, in fact, let me show you. I'm trying to connect it with AI right now, so AI can control this meeting notes. And all I have to do is either start recording myself, or if I'm really lazy and fancy, I can say start recording. And the AI within the decrypting ciphertext provided for storage is decrypt key. Crazy. Anyway, I think the of demos, when you're doing a demonstration of your software, it might have worked very well for 1 year, but on the day and at the exact second when you start using it, it will break. So I've been blessed by the live demo gods, it seems like, and that will keep it transcribed for me. And then this Claude can also access that. Claude literally has access to this entire database. This is completely built for fun. This is the 10th time I'm building this kind of setup, and once again, a lot of fun to try different ideas, to build different things and try different AIs. Which one is good at Indian languages? Which one is good at mixed Indian languages? All those big questions, which I had a ton of fun building this and setting this up. And it's still local. I'm not planning to release it anytime soon till I'm sure about security, etc. But there are a ton of AI agents doing the job. That's how essentially we are getting, notes that we are getting. Sorry, built by UCID. Yeah, this app is built by me. And last but not least, that I wanted to show you folks is, where did that go? I've had it up and running. This is not the one. Never mind. Okay, I think the AI connection, etc., is not stable. But there are multiple such tiny apps which are usually running in the background for me. And now I've become so used to prototyping directly. I don't like I realize I first ask it to prototype, and then I start thinking about the idea, because it will give me a better surface. For example, before I get started, I will ask it to build 5, 10, 20, 30 prototypes. The last important and very nuanced but subtle tips to leverage the new world of Gen AI that I want to share with you folks is, how many of you get stuck in this trap when you're coding with AI? You will give it a prompt and it will say, I did the job. And then you will realize it kind of did the job, but it's buggy. So you tell it it's buggy. And then it says, yeah, it's done. And then you check and you realize it's not really done. It's still buggy. The bug is just, moved elsewhere. So you go on. And how many of you have gotten stuck in this death spiral? Any of you relate? Any of you gotten this kind of stuck with while writing code with AI? Yes. Me too. Same. And it's very frustrating when that happens. And then I realized my biggest mistake. Okay. So now when this happens, I like everything triggers and I'm like, this is not the direction you want to get into. The issue is, folks, and this is the thing about steering models, that if by second message, AI is really smart enough to understand in your first message, maybe max second message, it is understood what you want. But those of you know how to write code, you also know you can use code to shoot yourself in the foot. It's called a foot gun. And basically you can corner yourself where you don't have an elegant solution. And in code, it's rather easy to do, right? If you're not careful. And turns out this is a signal. And that doesn't matter how long a prompt you send, how much you fight, how much you scream at it, it doesn't feel anything. This, like after second step, if you still see it not being able to accomplish that task, it is much more productive and faster to do this instead. Stop going down, like stop prompting further. Do not add to the mess. Go to your first prompt. All right, go to your very first prompt that you sent. And now you have to change this prompt. You have to evolve this prompt so AI doesn't fall in this particular trap. There's some trap, we don't know what that trap is, but we want it to be free from traps. So we build a completely, trying to address those particular gaps that we saw earlier. For example, let's say it failed to properly and efficiently query the DB, because it does write crap SQL if you're not very careful about it. So then where you are failing, and now you can change your prompt to be proactive about that from day zero, which seems super simple, but it is so tempting to just keep adding messages and hoping that it will fix itself. It won't. What you do is you go fix your system and change the way you began, and hopefully this time, not just hopefully, when you do it enough times, you learn what works, what doesn't work. But this is much cheaper, much faster, and less irritating than just trying to hold an AI by collar and get it to do work. In fact, this system is the superpower of how I was, from just toy apps to getting production ready code out of AI. This was the insight. It is my original steering that I want to change. It's my original prompt that I want to change. So it's extremely important that you recognize when you are in a death spiral. Death spiral term comes from ants. They'll go in a circle, and because there's no break and they're just following each other's smell, they are known to go in circles for days till they all die. So it's called a death circle, right? Same thing can happen here. It's just that the only thing that dies is you, because AI can't die. It literally can't feel anything. So this is an important lesson, which is look at your system and evolve your system and not just the conversation. So you want to look at it as, evolving system. The second important aspect of the same coin essentially is please restart. In old time, what used to happen, there was one code base and there was one folder where all of that code was there. And it was sacred because a lot of human hours went into writing that code. Now I can throw all those landing pages we created in the beginning and start a new one. And in fact, by the time, let's say you're coming, let's say I'm meeting with you in 1 hour. In 1 hour, I can create so many landing pages. It's not even funny. And that is what I'm calling restart. If you have an idea or a problem statement, please don't think like old times where, oh, I created one folder. Now this is the truth. All good code must be here. And this is what we'll ship. Okay. Get detached from the idea and build everything as an experiment. Build prototype number 1, build prototype number 2, build prototype number 3. It's very important, a thing that it unlocks, at least from product management point of view and design point of view as well. We're often theoretically told to focus on the problem and not the solution, marry the problem, not the solution, because solution can change shapes and forms. And this is exactly what is happening here. I am taking 5, 10, 30, 40, as many attempts as I can get with AI to take another look at the problem statement. And as you prompt each time, you do something, you do things differently or conduct it as a pure experiment. Either way, you learn. And this is basically, what's been single biggest thing in AI clicking in, that why there's no single code base. I can create 10 code bases. And what I can then do is I don't have to pick one as a winner. I can tell AI, take this part from A, take this part from B, take this part from, C, and create a brand new software, which does not even exist. And you can do this, and then you can do this again and again and again, right? So this sort of like, the idea of restarting when you're stuck, and the idea of not getting attached to just one folder. So now on purpose, so I don't get attached, I always create 3 folders, like, project 1, project _1, project _2, project _3, whatever, that is the naming scheme I follow. So it forces me to, not become too attached to one working version of it, right? So I find it extremely revealing when I test the same prompt on multiple models. I get to learn as well. So this is very crazy, land where we are kind of trying to learn. And this is how you want to avoid this trap. When you detect it, stop. Whatever time was wasted was wasted. Try to plan how can you restart this entire process. The last tip that I want to give you is so obvious, and yet so many engineers, actually, let's take it in 2 last tips. These are the most expensive, the most valuable tips that perhaps I can give you. How many of you know what agents.md is? Agents.md or Claude.md? Yes, no, folks? Anyone if you know? No. So you saw here that I am in a code base where Claude is running, where I ran the Linus, skill or plugin. This is the code base, right? And what you do is, there are certain things you'll realize you're repeating in every single prompt. And a lot of us realize that as well. So we separated our day-to-day task prompts with an overall guidance, right? And the idea is you place markdown files. Everybody will accept agents.md, except Claude. For Claude, you have to write Claude.md, which content can be literally the same. And once they sign, they train the models to look at agents.md, etc. And this one document can completely teach AI about your repo, what your stack is, what your coding style is, what are things I should not do this in a code base. And otherwise, when you call a model to work on your code base, unless you give it some context, it is starting from scratch. So in that one shot that you've called it, it needs to look at the code base, understand it, understand what you are asking for, and make sure it delivers it, decently well, which is challenging enough, but people have achieved this. And agents.md is another powerful way, especially for agentic AI coding use cases, to steer your model. It's basically a markdown file. The technique of writing this is very much closer to writing a system prompt. However, there's a way to write agents.md, and I'll show you my agents.md, Claude.md in a second. But you can also use it to shoot yourself in the foot. And I've seen people do that a lot as well. Before I reveal what is in my agents.md and how I go about it, I want to ask a question. How many of you, especially for agentic AI coding, will ask another AI or any AI to write the prompt for an AI? Like, I take my request, I give it to ChatGPT, it writes the prompt, I give it to Cursor. How many of you do this? How many of you use an AI to write prompt for another AI? That's it. Just 4 people, 5 people, 6, 7. Okay, I think I missed the chat. Okay, there are more people. Thank God. Thank God there are more people. Okay. But thank God that you folks told me, because my recommendation is this is one of the most terrible things you can do to your code base. Okay. And it has become more terrible over time. Should you do this? Like, absolutely, I would never. Like, it just outright. In fact, I am so against this idea, okay, of AI prompting another AI. And I'll tell you why in a second. That I would say it's better to have no agents.md and Claude.md than you ask an AI and you put it there. It's better to have no agents.md and Claude.md than using an AI to do this. And let me quickly show you a couple of examples while we talk about this, because the failure modes will become clear. One of the important parts, you have to understand that AI has blind spots. So when you give it and there are some blind spots which all AIs have. And what tends to happen is when you ask that AI to clarify and expand, it will just write the most common average stuff that it can remember and it was trained on. So, and in the act of doing that, it's diluting your message. And at the same time, it's most likely very subtly, very overtly amplifying its biases. So the next AI who receives it will become even more biased. Imagine you prompting it is not able to get the result. Somebody else's interpretation of your prompt is like, very, very, very difficult chance for any model to understand. This is a big project where each line of this agents.md file is handwritten. It's completely handwritten. I do not write it with any AI. I spend time writing this and articulating this. And there's a reason for all of these pieces to be here. For example, I'm telling it about stack, what is in a stack, exactly how our repo is structured. And then there are some code standards, how to handle the environment file. And then I have rules, right? Do not write any comments. Okay. I don't know if you notice, AI loves writing code in a way where it doesn't make sense because nothing is working, but there's no bug. So you actually have bug, but there are no errors. But errors are lifeblood of a software engineer. Like, if I can find the error, I can fix it, and then we can have better software. But AI was trained with RL to not make mistakes. So it will write code which with sole objective of making sure you see no errors. So you have to snatch it, like, from its hand, kicking and screaming. I'm still on that journey. I still don't think it, being honest. And so that is why it is there that, do not hide the error and do not eat the error. Third thing is, like, do not maintain backward compatibility. I think I now deleted it, but there was a code base where 90% of the code base was just shims and the backward compatibility stuff it's added to a software which is not even released. So I specifically tell it this software is not released. Even if it was released, like, I'll keep it there because it's obsessed with backward compatibility, and I would rather that it breaks cleanly so we know when we are done. This is for Claude. Whether you call it in Claude app or Claude Code or Cursor, once you use Claude 10 times, 1 out of 10 times, it will just create random markdown files wherever it wants, like for no good reason, and just leave it dirty. So it's specifically to guide that model. And each one of these such lines are written by hand, right? And one more example I want to give you. What about front end and back end? For example, in front end, use of use effect is forbidden. It's not avoid use effect. It's not use effect where appropriate, because that doesn't work. The only thing that has worked is absolute ultimatum that you are forbidden from writing use effect. You just shall not write use effect, because every single time there's a legitimate use case to use effect, I will be mindful of it and I'll ask for it. But every single time I've removed this, it has been an utter mess. Like use effect is everywhere. Like it's basically use effect running the show, which is not how React is supposed to work, right? And when I asked AI to generate a prompt for me, they would always dilute my strong language of forbidden to avoid blah, 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 basically encouraging the AI to misbehave, because none of the AIs listen till you use the strict words around these pieces, at least, right? Then I'm describing like how I want separation of concern to be done on my backend. Then at times I can link in Markdown, there are links, so I can link it to my document folder. All my code bases now have a document folder. Like I told you, test and document where I focus. And here, all of these documents were written by hand, except this one. This is a plan. By the way, they originally give you plan in Markdown. I would say ask for plan in HTML. It's phenomenal. It is much more easier to understand, especially when you're building complex software. Ask it to build an HTML plan, and you will thank me later that I spoke to you about this technique. For example, this is a plan it created for a backup system that I asked it to create. And the plan, that's how data will flow. Much easier for me to understand than the plans it was showing me earlier, and almost covers everything that I wanted it to cover. So plans are underrated. My mic is stuck again, crazy. So Claude.md and Agent.md is for steering, but please write it based on your experience of the kind of code that is there. And last piece that I would say is, there are questions, must have structure for this Claude agents. What is the solution then? How can we do better? As we don't know coding techniques, you will learn. That's fine. You'll start with basics, and it's your willingness to go on that. What is the basic structure? You start to write agents.md. Like what mandatory action should be there? Great question. I usually start with these parts of my agents.md. Let me show you the stack part, because this I decide very early on, like what does this app do, and then what our stack is going to be. This is decided pretty early, and then rest everything I fill in. And some things I fill in outright. For example, forbidding use effect, forbidding comments, forbidding any of these nonsense that they just love doing. Oh, another beautiful, this is another important rule, and this is the last piece. This context engineering, etc., whatever you want to call it, but there are special rules, and this is one of my very special rules. I've noticed the moment any code file lines, AI starts to struggle to understand it, edit it, maintain it, or do anything with it. Human beings are not like that. I've had code bases where one file was 3,000 lines of code, and we wanted it that way because it made sense to humans. AI can't deal with that. So this is the only rule that has been copy pasted since one of my very early on written agents.md, which is still relevant, that do not exceed in any scenario above lines of 250 code. If you have done that, or if you notice, stop. And in the next message, you must let me know and offer to refactor it. Because I know for a fact that if I even have one file which is going out of control and it's allowed to spin, it brings down the performance of every single AI model. Every single AI model, like if it is not designed this way. So the way I organize my code has fundamentally changed. And that is why I'm coming back to the piece that how different this world looks like. Earlier, software was sacred, everything else was dispensable. Now, at least in my reality that I've seen, I have a bunch of docs which I have written with hands, where I've tried to define my problem statement, the solutions, and try to articulate for my own understanding. And I would write that even if I was not prompting AI, right? And let's call it docs. And there are very specific test cases that I can come up with, programmatically generate or otherwise, which I, definitely want to use. There is tests and the throwaway thing, because once you have test and you have documentation, trust me, you could literally have 5 Claude codes, 10 Claude codes, 100 Claude codes running in parallel, using all of them using the same benchmark of what docs say and what tests have to be passed, and build you not one, not two, as many code bases as you like. Therefore, I am starting to change everything about the code to be friendlier to AI agents. And more, I'm becoming more guarded about the test and the docs, right? And this is crazy new world, but what I love about it, it enables completely different point of view, and all of us contribute to the final outcome. And I've not had this much fun in like ages of writing software, and I highly encourage you to dive in as well. AI is fantastic at all of this thing. If you don't believe me, this is the last thing I'm showing you. Lines of code is not a measure of productivity, but in my case, because it's voluntary, it is a lot of fun. I have been writing code since forever, but I've not written this much code in my life, and I've not had this much fun writing code and building software in my entire life. This is absolutely like, so much fun, first of all, and then just powerful. So I hope, today I was able to convince you that the old pipeline of waterfall pretending to be
خلاص ماشي ماشي يا أحمد.
Recording in progress.
Got it. Perfect. Understood. Interesting. Interesting. Nice that you guys are enjoying it so far. Perfect. So, guess what? If you give us one weekend of yours, we can help you go from 0 to 1 in your AI native journey, right? I have something in store for you. Let me quickly take you through that. We at Outskill have built something that will truly get you started in the journey of becoming an AI first tech professional, right? Or AI native engineer, as we call it as well. Super excited to introduce you to the Generative AI Engineers Bootcamp, which is built specifically for tech professionals or people who want to move to tech, right? But before I go deeper, I want to quickly tell you this. It is normally priced at 25,000 rupees on the website. You can go and sign up, but there's a special price that will be revealed soon, which you will not be able to believe. One. Second, the special price, in fact, is less than 5,000 or $100, right? Now, it is a 20-hour live event where we teach you everything to help you go from 0 to 1. And there are a few massive surprises for people who join in today here with us, right? But before that, I would like to take your permission to understand if I can share more about this program as we go deeper before we take questions in the chat. Do I have your permission to take 5 more minutes and get more in depth about this? Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Thank you so much for giving that permission. So once again, super excited to introduce you to the Generative AI Engineers Bootcamp. Now, what is this exactly is? First of all, let's start with who is this bootcamp for and how it is designed. Now, this bootcamp is for anybody who's a developer, who's a data scientist, product manager, DevOps engineer, mobile developer, QA engineer, IT professional, UI UX designer, technical writer, consultant, solution engineer, every professional who today is in tech or IT or wants to transition to tech and use AI as their ultimate unfair advantage, right? How do you use agentic AI principles and go much more deeper with involving in it your tech use cases. Now, this engineers bootcamp is created to take you from a script kiddie, just asking a platform to create something for you, taking you from a vibe coder to actually making you an AI assisted coder or AI assisted engineer, right? And that's what will take you to intermediate levels of it, right? Give us 1 weekend of yours and you will know more about generative AI application, more about agentic AI application than 95% of the world, right? Now, here's exactly what 2 days of engineers bootcamp covers. Day 1 covers developer productivity and AI agents. Now, this bootcamp, before I go into specifics of the session, it's not only for you to learn, but also build with us. At the end of these 2 days, you'll end up with at least 4 projects of your own. So the first session on day 1 will focus on developer productivity, where we'll focus about AI assisted coding. How do you learn and write code with help of Cursor, Claude, Copilot, and we'll talk about multiple live demos, how engineers use it, how senior engineers use it. We'll also talk about what exactly are prompt engineering patterns every engineer or an IT professional should know, right? And what exactly will come into your help when you start developing your own workflows over there, right? At the end, we'll also look at how do you accelerate code reviews, how do you look at debugging and documentation with help of LLM. Today, we were able to go slightly more we spoke about code reviews and debugging, but we'll also go deeper into documentation with LLM. But that's just session 1. And the first activity that we'll do is building a deep wiki agent. Now, what is that agent? This agent will help you write README files and API references for any GitHub repository, for any code base that is already live on the internet. It can be yours, it can be anyone's. So for you, you don't have to spend time in writing a lot of documentation of the code. This tool will be able to do that for you, and this will be the first personal project that you will create. The second session in this mastermind, in this bootcamp actually, on day 1, we'll focus on AI agents and agentic AI. We'll talk about what exactly are the pillars of AI agent. We'll talk about memory. We'll talk about tools. We'll go deeper into planning and autonomy, how exactly agents can execute tools and do the job for you, right? We'll also look at multiple agentic frameworks in practice, familiarly known as LangGraph, LangChain, Crew AI, and other tool calling mechanisms. And we'll look at what are these agentic workflows that companies are shipping and what they are utilizing today, right? What are the kind of workflows that engineering teams are using, utilizing, and building on top of it, right? So that's basically the session 2, and the project that we'll make at the end of day 1 is building your own deep research agent, building your own Perplexity. Siddharth showed you how do you build our own podcast. The first agent in that is research agent. When you give it a specific topic, how it researches the whole information from the internet and gives you in a boilerplate like you wanted. So what we'll do is we'll design a Perplexity like search and synthesis loop, and also it will be able to stream live results with citations in real time, keeping your data secure and compliant with your internal matrix, right? And there are multiple tools that we'll go deeper into, actually frameworks. We'll start with GitHub. We'll go deeper into Copilot. We'll talk about Cursor, Cloud Code, as I said. We'll look at the complete OpenAI and Anthropic ecosystem along with Google AI Studio as well. And we'll definitely go deeper into Tabili, Exa, Perplexity, OpenAI tool use, and Anthropic tool use APIs. And that's day one. Day two, once again, we'll go slightly much deeper from day one. We'll talk about orchestration, multi-agent systems, and designing your own RAG application, right? So the first session will focus on orchestration and multi-agent systems, where we take the agentic AI principles and go slightly more deeper. How do you actually orchestration works for you? What is routing? What is state management? How do agents hand off work from one agent to another or an agent to human? We look at what are multi-agent pipelines that you can design which can handle roles. How do you assign basically a role to an AI agent in a multi-agent, in a team of agent, right? How do agents communicate with each other, and how does failure is handled, right? One of the last tips that Siddharth showed you was how failure is handled in AI systems or orchestration when you do that, right? We look at multiple real-world agentic architectures which are used in production engineering teams today. And the most important part, once again, we'll build a project. And what would that be? We'll actually build an AI team that will be able to write code for you and test the same code for you. You'll basically spin up an orchestrator which will be able to plan, code, and test. So a team of 3 agents is what you'll build, which will be, and you'll also learn how to wire agents together, which can do handoff, which can understand what is the goal of one agent and another agent, so they can do the communication and work in a same environment. You'll be able to also run a real coding task end to end through the team that you build in the second day, first session. The second session will focus on RAGs. How do you exactly build a RAG? Now, why does RAGs comes into existence when we already have custom GPT, when we already have NotebookLM? Because the data that you give is not secure in these platforms. That's exactly why RAGs are built internally when you build your own models inside your enterprise. So we'll talk about RAG fundamentals. We'll talk about what is chunking, how exactly the data is chunked so that LLM is able to read it properly. What is exactly embeddings? Where do you store the data, online, which is called as vector databases, and how does the search happen, which is hybrid search? What are the retrieval strategies? What are multiple vector databases that you'll be using? Also, we'll talk about advanced RAG patterns where hybrid search comes in, re-ranking mechanism along with context compression. If your data is 500,000 GBs, how exactly AI can read it? The context window is shorter. So how do you sort of compress the context so it becomes easier and you get the accurate information based on your system information, based on your company information, which is relevant to you, which you can take action on. We'll also look at evaluations, right? When you build AI systems, how do you actually evaluate these systems? So we'll also take you through evaluating RAG quality. How do you look at precision? How do you look at recall mechanism? How do you, look at mitigation of hallucinations and multiple evaluation mechanisms? One of them is called LLM as a judge. Another one is golden test data set. There are multiple ones that come into picture, right? And the final project that you will build at the end of day 2 is building your own NotebookLM clone, right? Where you will be able to upload your own documents in a vector knowledge base, and you'll be able to ask questions which will be able to respond in grounded and cited answers, right? You are able to run a model which works on your data set, keeps your data secure. At the same time, you are able to do anything that you wanted to without having a lot of concerns, right? So we talk about slightly into security, open source models, and a lot of that, right? That's day 2. And the things that we'll go deeper into in terms of tools, we'll talk about agent frameworks. Once again, LangChain, AutoGen, and CrewAI comes into picture. We'll talk about multiple vector databases like Pinecone, ChromaDB. You might have heard about one of them at least. Embedding models, OpenAI has the best one so far, but we also talk about Hugging Face and Cohere. RAG frameworks which come in, Llama Index is the widely used along with LangChain, and Haystack becomes a third one. We'll also look at how do you evaluate, as I said. So we look at Raga's evaluation, Langsmith, and Langfuse, right? How does these bootcamp work? You'll attend 2-day live workshop. We'll start from 10 a.m. in the morning to 7 p.m. in the evening on Saturday, and same Sunday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'll take you to the dates and times in just a while. So you'll attend a workshop by top 1% AI mentors, total about 16 to 20 hours. The live workshops are designed in a way that you learn advanced concepts and build on the go. You'll participate in breakout sessions and hands-on activities that we do along with you. You'll attempt quizzes and other tasks during sessions, and you'll also network with like-minded people. Average experience of people who come onto these boot camp are anywhere between 8 to 12 years of experience. So you'll get to connect with senior managers in engineering teams, in tech teams, to actually increase and build your network through that, right? Just 16 hours over one weekend where you'll be able to learn, apply, and network. By Sunday night, you'll be amongst the best in the AI space, and you'll know how exactly agentic AI is applied in your organization and work. But you'll have to attend this live. There will be no recordings that will be provided. The complete bootcamp has to be attended live, right? But if you attend live, how do you practice after that? Let me cover that very quickly, right? First of all, here's the schedule. You see, day 1, Saturday, we go from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Day 2, Sunday, we go from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. again, right? If these dates do not work for you, you can enroll now and defer to a future batch. We try to do one batch every month, and that's basically how it runs. So that's basically a schedule for the Engineers Bootcamp, right? You also get certified by top 1% mentors that come and teach you. We are also partnered with National Skill Development Corporation in India, which is a Skill India Mission initiative. So you get a certified by Government of India if you are in India. If you're outside, you get a certificate from Outskill, which helps you build your learning credibility, and you can share it as your portfolio in your network, and you can use it as a badge of accomplishment. And that's what happens. I have another big surprise, as I said, so let me reveal it very quickly. Everyone who joins the Engineers Bootcamp today will get access to a couple of bonuses, right? So the first one, shall I go ahead and reveal them though? Okay, let me know that. The first one, the mega bonus comes to you, is GenAI Engineers Community, right? Everybody who has gone through this experience is the one who's part of this community, and they keep on actively working with each other. And these are, as I said, senior tech professionals who work with each other to understanding how agentic AI principles can be implemented in their work or in their consulting or at their own job, right? So that's what the community access that you get. The second mega bonus that you get access to, yes, is you get actually to learn from multiple rockstar mentors. Siddharth comes back once again. He shows slightly more things, much more in detail. He helps you build a team of AI agents. You get KVS Dilip, who comes in. He was PhD at AI from IIT Madras, who today heads AI initiatives at Outskill. You get to learn from Akhil Kumar, who has independently helped 1 million tech professionals launch their product from scratch into the market, and helped a lot of people implement AI in their own work, right? Enterprise as well, along with that. Paras Madan, who is now a founder, has worked with companies like MasterCard, Visa for AI adoption and implementation projects. You get to learn from Divij Bajaj, who's a data scientist and applied scientist at Microsoft, who closely work with the Copilot team. A lot of you would be using that, right? The third mega bonus that you get is all the tasks that we do, you get it also in terms of printable workbook guides. You'll be able to do 4 projects during these 2 days, but these workbooks will help you do 4 more or at least 10 more projects and give you much more ideas on how exactly you pick your own work examples and build projects and implement AI in your work. That's mega bonus number 3. The fourth one, the most important and the most requested one also is this one. You get 1 year access to a platform where you will be able to build 30 more AI agents after these 2 days. Imagine, by these 2 days, you'll be able to build 4 projects. You'll get workbooks to create much more use cases. And these Agent Archive, what we call it, is a platform which will help you build 30 more AI agents for your specific works. Will build also your practice, and it's plug and play solution that you can integrate within your work. So it will help you learn, build, and adopt at the same time. It's valued at about $1,064 over a year, which normally comes at. The fifth bonus that you get access to is automation library. A lot of you ask questions. How do I apply AI in QA? How do I apply AI in cybersecurity? Guess what? All the top mentors that I've spoken about come from these industries. They have done the hard job already, and we have designed automations based on your role. So this is a platform where you get access to all of these automations which are plug and play. You'll be able to export them into your work and you'll be able to integrate them from day one. And this will solve your time, money, and make your systems cheaper, better, and faster from day one. These are ready to use, can be deployed in just one click. Once again, it's valued at $1,000 a year. Sixth bonus that you get access to is prompts library, right? Siddharth, as you see, launched a lot of prompts, used a lot of prompts in multiple tools, right? Now, when it comes to engineering workflows, when it's come to multiple workflows that IT professionals use, do you have to think from scratch about these workflows? Yes, it takes time when you start writing the prompt first time, right? But what we have done, once again, our mentors once again have spent time to understand what are all of these use cases, maybe career, business, analyzing market trends, content writing, creative writing, QA, cybersecurity, software engineering, front end, back end, all of these use cases. And we have a suite of prompts that you can use. They are about almost 1,000 prompts, depending on the category that you come from, which you can able to plug and play, use it. And that's basically what's prompt library that you get access to. Once again, valued at $119. All of these bonuses, along with the 2-day experience, cost at the price that you see on the screen, right? But at the same time, as I said, we normally do these trainings for international brands up to 40 employees at, at about anywhere between starting price at 10 lakh rupees, or, anywhere between 15K to 30K USD. And we have done it already with teams at Uber, Domino's, Tata Communications, Shiprocket, and a lot of others. We have been sort of doing this for quite a very long time, right? The workshop special price when we launched is this price when we launch it at an introductory price, right? But today, as I said, there's something very special we are doing for the first 50 people who joined today. Now, all of the offerings, along with the bonuses, along with the 6 bonuses and the 2 days of experience, which helps you learn and build projects, comes to you at not the launch price, but at this price, which is all inclusive, right? Now, this price is offered, which includes all the taxes. We are partnered with, as I said, NSDC. So the courses that you take from us are exempted from the GST. So we pass on that benefit to you. For the first 50 users, that's what you end up paying with all the bonuses, right? But once again, this is only for first 50 users who enroll. After 50 users, this price hikes up at an introductory workshop price. And after the workshop, users who enroll after the workshop pay an introductory price. Okay. Now, give me one quick second. The team will. Yeah. So what you can do is this, right? The link is in the chat. Click on the link in the chat box, and this is your time to enroll now. Okay. And yes, now let me come to mega bonuses also, right? We have something crazy for the first 50 people who come in. There are 2 more mega bonuses, right? The first one is you get 1 year access to Emily, which is priced at $228, which is built annually. Now, what is Emily? Emily is your personal co-pilot, which sits on your laptop, sits on your desktop, and does all the things along with you. It is basically like an executive assistant like you have, but on your laptop. It can understand. You might have heard about Jarvis, you might have heard about multiple concepts like that, but that's exactly what it helps you do. It helps you finish your task faster, all in your browser. And we have also given a functionality where you can integrate these prompt library, these automation library here itself. So just with a single Chrome extension, you are able to run your full work without looking at it a lot and just talking to this agent. It basically can chat with a video if you want to it. It can read a document for you. You can chat with multiple documentation, or it can help you write your emails faster. It can do a lot of automations for you as well. Imagine hiring an executive assistant, and that's what the tool does for you. And that's what you get for 1 year access as part of this. The second bonus that you get is a platform called Get Multi, which is once again valued at $186. Now, you saw in the beginning when we started the workshop, Siddharth used a prompt in 2 to 3 multiple platforms. We went at Cloud Code, we looked at Codex, we wanted multiple other tools. But what if I'm a front-end engineer and I'm trying to build a front end in React? What exactly is the right LLM for me to choose out of 600 of them which are available? And that's exactly what Get Multi solves for you. You write a prompt and you can compare it with 10 to 15 other LLM models that you select. And you write a prompt once, and it gives you an output from all the 16 or all the 10 or whatever models that you choose at once. And you can pick and choose, oh, this is the right LLM for me to design and go further, right? And this exactly is priced at $186. So at the one subscription, you get access to all the 600 AI models in one platform. Becomes very easy for all of you, and you do not pay for multiple platforms separately. That's basically the mega bonus too. We keep it to only first 50 people. As I said, that is the reason I didn't reveal this before, as we cannot give these mega bonuses to everyone, but only to the first 50 people, right? And a quick question, don't you think if someone has access to all of this, it is going to be an unfair advantage? Like nothing? Yeah, so that's basically what you have, what we have in store for you, which is Generative AI Engineers Bootcamp. The price that you see on screen is available for the first 50 users. Here's the schedule one more time. We go from 10 a.m. in the morning to 7 p.m. in the evening, Saturday and Sunday. If these dates do not work for you, you can enroll now and defer to a future batch. We conduct one batch every month. And that's basically what we had in store for you. And this is exactly how the community looks like. You have multiple people doing tasks, sharing their links, communicating and working with each other, sharing their feedback, sharing their screenshots, exactly telling us, how did they liking. So you see a gratitude channel coming up as well. What are the time saving that is happening of each of the tasks that they're performing, whatever they do. And yeah, what I have is a quick glimpse of what people say about this bootcamp, and I'll give you a 2-minute glimpse of what it actually looks like while you take your time and sign up for the bootcamp. And in the next 2 minutes, we'll come and take questions. Okay, so hear them out.
You have done an amazing job. You should be proud. You totally over-delivered.
Hey, this was mind-blowing.
The lovely, really amazing 2 days.
Amazing, really great, like just hopefully life-changing.
It was a very great session. How you organize this session so well.
Growth School under commits and over delivers.
I had an amazing session. Last 2 days I was hooked my screen.
It was kind of strenuous to focus for 16 hours. I wouldn't lie with that.
But I was attached to you guys. No matter what happens, I have to complete this.
Managing 700 people with this level.
I believe, folks, sorry about that. I think Om's laptop had an issue. 1 second, he's just giving me a call. All right, let's start with the questions. We get to sneak in more time for the questions. Meanwhile, Om comes back. In case you want to understand how can you make good prompt without AI, my secret is voice notes. I don't know if you sent blabbering voice notes to your friends on WhatsApp or like any of these messaging apps. I'll start recording, and then I'll, before one topic finishes, I go second topic and third topic. Only me and my friend can make sense of it. Since I started using audio, stuff like Whisperflow, Super Whisper, etc., to prompt, AI, my life has changed, and I recommend that highly. Voice is the most underrated way, because even when I write, I'll only write what I'm thinking about. But when I blabber in voice, I tend to give it more additional context, which apparently is in my experience, definitely useful for AI. So that is how you can get to prompting. Question currently, I was struggling with building a plan on problem statement. Can you suggest me some best plan mode? There is no such thing as best plan mode. Two different things to try is you do the planning and use AI to, there's a skill called Grill Me. So you can use the Grill Me, here's my plan, grill me on this, that you can prompt that and it will let AI ask you questions, which can be a super underrated technique. to have different points of views, it can become really, really useful that way, right? So definitely try that. I recommend that, use AI in an adversarial way, right? And you kind of sometimes have to encourage it to go a little hard on you and be more strict, because it does have tendency to be lenient. And if you want like proper grilling, then that is what you would want to go for. It's literally called Grill Me skill. It's not a skill. It's just you literally ask AI to grill me, and it grills you. That's what it does. For example, I think I can share this prompt, Grill Me prompt, with everyone. You can copy it from here and use it.
Perfect. I think the video might have given you guys a quick understanding of how the
video
experience.
stopped playing. The video stopped in between because your laptop went off.
Yeah. So yeah, no worries. I think I anyways wanted to show them a quick minutes only. But perfect. I think the video might have showed you what are the experience sort of looks like. But yeah, Siddharth, let's start taking questions so that we have.
Yeah, I'm taking
made a note of some.
People specifically.
I've also made a note of some, so I'll also start asking from that.
Awesome.
Perfect. So one of the first ones, I think since the session was happening, I was also making notes of what questions are coming. So, wow, the first question that comes in is, how can I start applying what we learned today in my current job tomorrow? I think it talks more about where should I look at these use cases and how do I progress from there?
So I think start with one idea that stuck with you and start with the simplest one. There's no point in trying to rush yourself through all of it. And that is what I would highly recommend if you want to start tomorrow. And that's a great objective to start with. Having a sense of community helps. You will forget other people will try different things. So I feel extremely lucky to be at Outskill because we talk so much AI. And we are usually the early adopters of all AI tools. Like before people even know an AI tool exists. In fact, now that we have people who come because they're launching a new AI tool, so we can get it to the right people, and because and we are like hypercritical, like super critical of especially stuff we build for ourselves. We are most critical of. So there's a lot of AI conversation happening, and that kind of helps. I wouldn't lie, like any sort of community there helps because other people carry the weight for you, and there are things where I know I won't get time or I don't have interest to look at that myself, but I know other friends do, other of my colleagues do, and they're great storytellers, all of them. So it is fun to just sit and listen to, them rant or just praise certain AI tools and learn, what's working, what's not. And whenever a new model comes out, there's literally till next 48 hours, there'll be like messages. And whenever we meet each other like after hello, it's like, oh, did you try Opus 4.8? What's your opinion about it? It's damn fun to, be in that zone. So that's sort of like, in that environment, it is impossible for you not to apply and, find new things. And I find, don't like, while I want to say, don't rush the process. At the same time, I would say, don't hold back and don't wait for something big to start. Just don't make a big deal out of it. Just start simple and take the next logical step. That much easier. It's like, I don't know if you ever stood outside a cold shower and you don't want to step in. You can stand there for full day and torture yourself, or just close your eyes and walk into the cold shower and just be all okay with it. What is the way for a person without a technical background to build websites? I literally built one in front of you. That is the technique. What basics need to be learned? You need to be clear about what you want. Building a basic website, AI can do for you, and just start playing around with it. You saw how simple the prompt I wrote was. So it is, keep it simple and start with the basics and then build on. That is one secret that I can share with you about that. Would love to be able to apply it, the skills using free tier tools. You can, however, having said that, while I understand and am usually one of the people who will be finding how to maximize free AI use, so I get as many like token maxing as possible on free AI. I also know that paid AI, the paid pro levels are really that good that they are worth the money, and especially when you get to leverage them. So be open to paid tools is what I would say, because if you're getting that kind of advantage, if you are spending $20 and you know how to make $100 back from it, I think it's totally a fair, like banger of a deal, right? So look at from that point of view, and of course, as you try more things, learn more things, you will become more confident of your ability to do that, right? So I would just be open to that. It would be disappointing if I need to take dollars of subscription to make the skills work. Ashraf, that I understand where you're coming from. Having said that, the miles of difference between the free models and the free usage and the paid usage is the sheer quality that is different is very hard to explain unless you try it, right? And in the end, I've noticed that if you can afford to, I would encourage you should pay, try the paid layer, because in the end, you will realize that the only person who's being deprived of anything in this, subsidized market where AI is literally being subsidized for us, is the person who is spending so much time on trying to save so much, because it's possible that you spend $20 and actually figure out a way to get them back in 500 or 100 or whichever deal. That's totally I know it may sound like an exaggeration, and take it with a pinch of salt or a bag of salt, if you will. But I think most people expect to get one life-changing moment in their life. Last one I heard of was the 90s revolution, the IT revolution, etc. And this is another revolution. The fundamental economics of everything are changing. And at this point in time, I would err on the side of trying to constantly go back to the larger picture and understand what is this deal here. If I'm spending $20, what am I getting back? And then evaluate from that point of view, is it worth it for me or not? Because almost every software engineer I know is willing to spend more and happily spends more on AI when they are convinced about it, and they're usually open to those ideas because they are seeing the leverage, right? And those who are not seeing the leverage, I think you are right to be skeptical, and you should, like, the money which you're spending should justify its spend. So you're fair about that. But the moment you see an opportunity, do take it as well. Ashraf is saying transparent. Yeah, I think just letting you know, because when I upgraded, I still remember years back, and I subscribed to ChatGPT when it was ChatGPT 3.5. Only remember those days, ChatGPT 3.5. It feels like a toy now. And I realized that I was hitting, their limits were so generous, like you open AI once, in 2-3 days. And then so much of my work started depending on AI that I started hitting limits every day. And in the end, I was like, listen, this is getting enough serious work done for me. Here's the $20, just give me the subscription. And I took it, and I never looked back. I think those were the most life-turning moment, in terms of spending those $20. So you never know. And so just be open to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And how much is right now your spend for a month on any?
Don't ask, please. It hurts. It hurts. Do not ask. From point of view of how much I spend, I think I spend a lot, and still feels not enough because I'm always running out of tokens in every direction, seems like. But yeah, I think close, at least it used to be $100 about 1 year back. Now it's at times it's $200, depending on if I spent on GPUs or other large project API credits, etc. Then maybe a little more than that, but $250 at least, right? At certain months it has gone to 500 because I forgot to cancel some subscription. Thankfully, I was able to share it with a lot of friends and get the worth out of it anyway.
So a few questions which I'll just take, and then we'll ask a few more which I have noted. Folks, this is for both. If you come from tech, definitely this is for you. If you come from non-tech and want to transition, that's for you. Even if you don't have coding background or so, you'll be able to understand and make use of it. And you don't need to buy any other paid subscription over these 2 days of experience. You'll be able to build with the things that we give you access to. That's two.
So make sure that you have best access during these 4 days.
Yeah. How can an individual convince the organization to adopt these workflows? Because that's the starting challenge. Even if, the first question comes around, okay, are these secure? Or can I share my data with these tools? So just the sheer experimentation also start with that permission or conviction. So how do you start with that, or how do you go about that?
If you are in a regulated industry like banking, finance, law, or medicine, yeah, I wouldn't expect your organization to suddenly open up. In fact, before we see them opening up, we might see a closing down because security concerns are becoming because AI is able to write threatening software very easily. Almost at this point, everything is vulnerable. Like me being on Zoom is vulnerable at this point, very honestly speaking, right? Having said that, if you are not from any of these regulated industries, and your company employs software engineer or tech people, and they have not started adopting AI, it's my opinion, you can take it or leave it, you don't have to believe it, but I feel I wouldn't say now it's early. I think it's kind of late in the adoption process. And in the longer horizon of things, of course, you should get access to it and upskill yourself and start leveraging it the way, and decide that it's for you or not, or what it will do for you. And if the of course, you should encourage your company. And but one of the best ways I've seen is by prototyping. Create a prototype, build something, proof of concept that you can share in the company, and it convinces people. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, a prototype is worth thousands of pictures. And that is definitely the easy road. And at the same time, if you don't see them responding to the change, I think you might want to think whether that's a good place to be career-wise, because essentially they are making you and themselves redundant in this industry, right? Because unless you are gated by regulation, and if you're not moving, you're going to stay behind. And then it becomes, I think, a career question. Do you want to stay in that organization, or would you rather work with an organization who would open up? They should be paying for half of your AI is what I'm saying. If they're not paying for that, yeah, there's some interesting experiences that you're missing out on, which I think will be foundational for the new economy that is coming out of this.
Which also is which also is the follow-up to the next question, which is coming up from okay, I lost the name though, but what skills should I now focus on developing now that AI can generate code?
So if you're curious about code, then you can't stop learning about code anyway. And I encourage you to continue to learn, because the more you know, the more control you have, right? If you don't know what memory registers are, you don't have that layer of awareness and leverage, right? Even though AI can know that for you, but it can't leverage them for you over it, right? So that's why when you give the same AI Claude, you give it to me, you can take it and we can give it to a completely non-tech person, while all three of us can build apps today, and AI will get better, so we can build more complex apps tomorrow. The outcomes you will get, I will get, and the third person will get will be different. For example, I know for a fact that anytime I'm building software with AI, because I come from design background, there'll be a lot more design work just because I'm aware and I can do it, something about it, I'll do it. Similarly, when you give it to a software engineer, when that mind frees up, they will, pursue the goals they would have anyway otherwise. And business people will think of new business, literally new business models are emerging as we speak of this, and old ones are dying. So all of three of us will bring our expertise and, take the AI the extra mile. And therefore, AI is not the same in, any people's hands. And that is, of course, part of this leverage, etc. So remember, I still believe that the power of AI, of writing software in hands of software engineer, is far, far, far more lethal than and crazy than in a non-software engineer's hand, even though it's really leveled out the fields. The fact that both coders and non-coders use anti-gravity, both coders and non-coders now use Cursor, this unifying of tools. If you told me 5 years ago, I would have told you are delusional, okay, and today it's reality. It's unbelievable. At the same time, there are few skills which were always valued. Engineers, I feel, were always given a discount on that because code was, obscure and rare enough skill. But now those are starting to come at the forefront because some baseline level of code anyone can write, right? And those are communication, empathy, curiosity, understanding of business, understanding of being able to ask good questions. All these soft skills are really becoming extremely important because there is less and less differentiation of a person, or it matters even less on the technical side, and everything is therefore like the weight of the non-technical side is much higher, and people who can communicate and people who care and people who will talk, they've always been in demand, and I feel they will always be in demand. And now it's becoming even more true of engineering as well. I hope that helps.
Understood. And I think one interesting question, you already answered this, I think, in few bits and pieces though, but just to summarize, what gains have you seen after adopting AI? What kind of metrics have you measured and seen that progress?
My life has turned upside down, inside out. Like there's no measure from the past lives, as I call them. It to me it is like my births before AI and my births after AI. It's almost like that. It doesn't feel real in the past. I showed you my GitHub. My profession does not look the same anymore. And I don't see a future where my profession or people like me who are working in tech, whether as PMs, designers, engineers, QA, whatever the role, and role matters even less now. The job and the landscape is changed forever. You may not have seen it coming to your door, but that doesn't mean it's not coming. And it can be a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. And it takes, what I realize, it takes very little work and a lot of curiosity to make it from a misfortune to like a thing you really enjoy. Or like they say it on Twitter, this is the chance to escape the permanent underclass, as they call it on Twitter. Like that is their running joke, that once AI is done, like, we are in permanent underclass. That's running joke. But yeah, I think there's some truth to that joke. And I think, yeah, I hope that helps.
Got it. And I think the final one before we sort of close out, what guardrails should managers or the team who's adopting AI should put out before allowing AI generate code before it gets to production?
So I showed you how code is largely being seen in 4 parts. You have to identify your sanctum, like the sacred cow, the holy code that no one should touch unless they're blessed. Identify it early, and the mission critical software, etc., and keep that with humans, and allow and open up to willingly give a space in certain areas which are just right. Like for example, a lot of marketing use cases are just like the marketers have been waiting, the engineers have been waiting, and finally it's time to let go of it, right? So there are departments will happily let go of certain things, and they would want to happily adopt AI. And at the same time, the guardrails that you want to think about is not very different from in general what InfoSec and security and software they have been. But there's a new channel that has opened up because of the sheer ability that it has. And there I would say, A, take the advice from lawyer that lawyers should give. B, you want to be very clear about what is it, like remind and probably reiterate the ethical guidelines of whichever apply in your industry. For example, in general, you would not want to be putting into AI data of your customer without thinking twice. You might want to be careful about that. You might want to make sure you have, authority and license or, permissions to process that data with AI, which is not an issue in most scenarios. But we, like most people will have the test data sets, which are built of permissions and different kind of sources. So make sure those are available to people. So because it is not out of malice that people end up making those mistakes is usually out of not knowing and carelessness and just lack of availability. It's just so difficult to get the official data set. Don't make sure these things are easily accessible, and if they are not, then people will just secretly, like, it's on, if the managers are here, and you will have to like kind of find the balance. Because if you, for example, if imagine you just say that, oh, we are not going to allow AI, the reality is, if you take that hard stance, most likely your engineers will find a way to use AI one way or the other. It is that persuasive and tempting, and now it is just happening in a way which is behind your eyes, and you don't want to be in a situation where that becomes a foot gun. Because outright saying no to AI is I think too extremist, and again, unless regulation prevents you. So be open and keep the channels of communication open and make sure when things are available, they are available freely, so people can participate in the right way. And usually just making it easier to do the right thing is usually the way to go, at least how I would tell manager to manage it. I hope that helps. And I love that question because I don't think anyone asked that before. So
I think these were a bunch of questions that came in, and most of them also are slightly either duplication of it or that. But yeah, I think that was it for the day so far. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for joining us today. I hope you had fun.
And thank you so much, folks, joining in. Yeah, I hope people had fun, and I hope you will build something and tag us.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Siddharth. We'll see you soon. And perfect. Folks, that was Siddharth. That was our workshop on Claude Code for Tech Professionals. How did you like it? In the chat, quickly. I'm also seeing the poll results of how it's coming along. Perfect. Perfect. That was it. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. You'll receive the resources, once this workshop is done. Our team will send it to you over an email, and we'll see you in the next one. And for all of you who are part of the bootcamp, our team will send you rest of the details of all the access and tools and everything in the email as well. So keep an eye on that. You might have received a confirmation email already. And we'll see you. We'll see you, for a 2-day experience. Thank you so much. My name is Om Asnani. We'll see you very soon in the next workshop. Thank you.